Good evening, I'm Roger, and welcome to NFL Trending. Tonight's top story brings together celebrity commentary, franchise drama, and quarterback controversy, all swirling around the Cleveland Browns, Joe Flacco, and the growing buzz about Shedeur Sanders. The Cleveland Browns have once again found themselves in the center of the NFL spotlight, not because of a dominating performance on the field, but because of the words of comedian and television host Steve Harvey. Known for his unfiltered humor, Harvey took some brutal digs at the Browns and veteran quarterback Joe Flacco, comments that quickly went viral across sports media and social platforms. His remarks have not only sparked debate among fans, but have also coincided with mounting speculation about the Browns' long-term quarterback situation, and whether Shedeur Sanders, the dynamic Colorado quarterback and son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, could somehow be in play for Cleveland in the near future. Let's start with Harvey's words. During a recent interview, the comedian didn't hold back. He poked fun at the Browns' history of inconsistency, calling them, quote, the most loyal fan base for the most disappointing team in football. He went even further on Joe Flacco, saying the Browns' reliance on an aging quarterback was, in his words, like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. The quips drew laughter from the audience, but for Browns fans, they hit a little too close to home. After all, the team has struggled for decades to find a consistent franchise quarterback. Flacco, who joined the Browns late last season and sparked a surprising playoff run, has been both celebrated and criticized. On one hand, he brought stability, leadership, and veteran savvy when the Browns desperately needed it. On the other, questions linger about whether relying on a 39-year-old quarterback is a sustainable strategy. Harvey's comments tapped into that frustration, and in typical fashion, he made the issue go mainstream. But the conversation doesn't end with Harvey's jokes. In the NFL, perception often drives speculation, and speculation is now centering on Shedeur Sanders. The Colorado star has become one of the most talked about prospects in college football, and whispers are growing that the Browns, like many quarterback-hungry franchises, are keeping a close eye on him. The idea of Shedeur in Cleveland has fans torn. Some see him as the flashy, talented answer the franchise has long searched for. Others fear that the Browns' history of mishandling quarterbacks could derail another young star before he even has a chance to shine. Shedeur Sanders' name brings with it both talent and brand power. On the field, his accuracy, composure, and leadership have impressed scouts. Off the field, his connection to Deion Sanders and the Sanders family legacy makes him one of the most marketable names in sports. If he were to land in Cleveland, it would be a seismic move for the franchise, a potential culture shift. But it's also raising fear among fans that Cleveland, with its long and painful history of quarterback mismanagement, might not be the right place for Shedeur's NFL journey to begin. And this is where Steve Harvey's comments tie back in. His digs at Flacco weren't just about one player. They reflected a broader skepticism, a belief that the Browns, no matter how much talent they assemble, always seem to find themselves in chaos when it matters most. From the Johnny Manziel experiment to the Baker Mayfield roller coaster, the Browns' history at quarterback is filled with both promise and heartbreak. For Harvey, it was comedy. For fans, it's reality. Now, let's talk about the reaction. Browns fans are divided. Some laughed off Harvey's comments, admitting there's truth in comedy. Others fired back, pointing to the franchise's improved defense, its playoff push last year, and the belief that with the right pieces in place, Cleveland could be on the verge of sustained success. As for Flacco, the veteran hasn't publicly responded to the remarks, but teammates have rallied around him, praising his leadership and calm demeanor. Inside the locker room, Flacco is respected. Outside it, he remains a polarizing figure. The Shedeur Sanders angle adds gasoline to the fire. Social media has exploded with debates over whether the Browns should pursue the young star in the draft or stick with their current path. On one side are those who believe Shedeur represents the future, a new face of the franchise who could energize the fan base and finally break Cleveland's quarterback curse. On the other side are skeptics who argue that chasing the next savior is exactly what has doomed the Browns in the past. They point to the team's investment in Deshaun Watson, a move that already cost the franchise massive draft capital and financial commitment, as a reason why pursuing Shedeur might not even be realistic. Watson's situation complicates everything. The Browns gave up significant assets to acquire him, and his massive contract makes it nearly impossible to move on without major consequences. If Watson struggles again or continues to battle injuries, the pressure to find a new quarterback will only grow. That's where the Sanders speculation takes root. Fans fear that if Cleveland were to pivot once more, Shedeur could be caught in the middle of a franchise still searching for stability. Meanwhile, national media outlets have latched onto Harvey's comments, amplifying the story. Sports talk shows debated whether the Browns deserve the ridicule, and whether Flacco is truly a liability or simply a stopgap solution. Some pundits argued that Harvey was unfair, pointing out that Flacco's play last season was a key reason the Browns reached the postseason. Others agreed with the comedian, insisting that Cleveland's reliance on veterans is proof the franchise still lacks a clear long-term plan. What makes this story particularly interesting is how it blends sports, entertainment, and fan culture. Steve Harvey's words weren't intended as serious football analysis, but they've reignited a conversation that Browns fans have been having for decades. And with Shedeur Sanders' star rising, the timing couldn't be more intriguing. Looking at the bigger picture, the Browns are in a familiar position, caught between promise and doubt. Their defense, led by Myles Garrett, is one of the best in the league. Their offensive line and running game provide stability. But without clarity at quarterback, the ceiling remains uncertain. If Flacco plays well, the Browns could once again be playoff contenders. If Watson rebounds, they may still have their franchise quarterback. But if neither scenario pans out, the cries for a new solution will only get louder, and the fear surrounding Shedeur Sanders potentially landing in Cleveland will continue to dominate headlines. For now, Steve Harvey's jokes are just that, jokes. But in Cleveland, where quarterback debates never seem to end, comedy has a way of reflecting reality. Whether it's Flacco, Watson, or perhaps someday Shedeur Sanders, the Browns' search for stability under center is once again the defining storyline of their franchise. And as the NFL world continues to buzz, one thing is certain: when comedy collides with controversy, it doesn't just trend, it explodes. That's all for tonight's edition of NFL Trending. I'm Roger. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time with more of the stories that keep the NFL world talking.